What's up guys, Frantic here, and welcome to the new Sunday show. Not much is changing except, where I'm talking to you from, and something else I'm going to get to in here in a minute. Anyways, so the reason this is happening on a Monday, really simple actually, I just didn't really get around to it yesterday. I had a busy weekend, kind of wanted to relax on Sunday, and by the end of the day I realized I totally didn't record the show. So I apologize if you were looking forward to that. Other than that, though, that's really the only reason. That's not a change that's happening. The change that's happening is what I'm going to be recommending. Still going to be music, still in the same realm. It's just that I'd rather recommend songs instead of albums now. Only because I feel like this time, maybe next year, I won't have as many albums to recommend. It was getting to the point where I had a lot of albums on the backlog that I hadn't listened to in a while, but I really liked. And I just started digging into those to recommend to you. So I didn't feel like I was being very true saying I'm listening to this week, when in reality it had been maybe a month or two since I'd actually listened to it. So I think that this is going to work out a little better. I'll be able to go into songs a little more in depth, and I think it'll be fun. The only thing I haven't figured out is the thumbnail, because I usually take album arts, and if I'm talking about the same album for 3 weeks straight, might seem like I'm just ranting and going on, but either way, I'll figure that out, I'm sure. But regardless, now we're going to recommend songs, maybe whole albums every now and then, but definitely songs instead of albums. I figure if I give you songs that are 3 to 10 minutes long, I know that's a big jump, but that's usually the stuff I listen to. If I give you those, you'll have a lot more to absorb, you'll have a lot more time to get into this stuff instead of saying, here, listen to this hour-long album and come back next week, because I know not everybody can do that. So anyways, I'm going to jump in here. I hope you guys are excited as I am. Should be a lot of fun. Alright, so first up, I'm going to talk about a new album that came out on Friday the 13th, one I had kind of talked about on the show a lot because I'm really excited for it, and I still am because it's a very good album from what I've heard so far. It is Pain of Salvation's new album, In the Passing Light of Day. So Pain of Salvation is one of my really favorite bands, Think of them as Dream Theater, and if you aren't familiar with Dream Theater, lots of really weird grooves and complexity and talented musicianship. But think of it less on the side of crazy instrumentals and more on the side of lyrics and theories. Pain of Salvation is really awesome, and I like what they've been doing more in their older stuff, because their newer stuff seemed kind of weird and I didn't necessarily enjoy where it all went. Not to say I didn't like it, but more to the point here, In the Passing Light of Day is a great step in a new direction. They're treading new ground while also keeping true to their roots. It's like the new albums that they released called Road Salt and Road Salt 2, which were albums I didn't much care for, they kind of meet what they used to do in the past, and it's a great new ground. So there are 2 songs off of this album that I've been listening to a lot, which are actually the singles I recommended back when they were first spoiled, I guess is the right term. I really enjoy Meaningless, which was the first track we had heard from this album. It is a very good song. It's a lot about sex, so if you aren't into listening to a song that talks about sex, you're not like wanting to see that imagery, wouldn't really listen to the lyrics. I mean, the melodies are amazing, and they get stuck in my head endlessly and endlessly. And the video, too, is really, it's really taboo, if you want to call it that. Plug your ears if you don't want to hear this, but it's basically a woman in necrophilia. That's all I'll say. I don't want to paint too vivid of an image, as I'm sure that probably already did. No, this song is very good. It talks about really what it is someone that has a lot of sexual desires, and people being, or not people, the person they have these sexual desires with, so maybe a significant other, they are very far away and all their feelings are meaningless because they're not there to fulfill all of this. And so the video kind of goes into a weird depth, because it's like the man is dead, who is Daniel, their lead singer. He's dead, but still smells of sex and sweat. And the woman can't control her urge. Not really sure how you have sex with a dead body if you're a woman on a man. I'm not going to get into anatomy. But that's basically what happens. Now, the song doesn't go true into that. It doesn't talk about like necrophilia, but that's the image they decided to paint, so I decided to go with that as the message overall. So the other track, Reasons, doesn't have much to do with sex, but it still has something to do with relationships. And I don't mean a relationship like me and my good friend. I mean relationship as in me and a significant other. So that being said, they really... it hits the nail on the head in this song. It's not hard to find anything cryptic in this because there isn't anything. It just talks about the reasons they don't work out. And both people in this relationship are extremely frustrated to the point of hating, and I quote, every motherfucking word you say. So they're very frustrated, and this song kind of, in a way, I think, personally, the music kind of reflects that. They are just emotional and angry, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. It's all vomited into each other, essentially. And by the end, there's like this 30-second ending after they say, you know, all their reasons. There's 8 reasons. And then 9, 10, and 11, it's just kind of the music getting crazier and chaotic and harder to follow. You don't really get to bob your head unless you've heard it a bunch of times and know when the beats are going to hit. So it's really, really emotional, as is this whole album. And I'm sure next week I'll talk about some other songs, but having only 3 days to dissect all of this music, I felt I couldn't do it enough justice, so I figured I'd talk about the stuff I'd heard a bunch of times and had enough time to dissect. Alright, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, I want to say that I'm going to delve into another album. There's only one left in this whole video, and that's because I'm going to be recommending more songs than I am albums. But I'm going to dive into this album that I've talked about before, but I'm only going to talk about 3 songs off of that album because they're so emotional and good. Now, like I said before, I've said it like 3 times already, an album I've talked about before. That's probably going to happen a lot in the next couple of episodes because I want to retread ground I've talked about because I felt I didn't give it enough justice. You know, certain albums I just didn't get to talk enough about, or I rambled and didn't even get to a point I wanted to get to. So I'm going to go into Bone Machine by Tom Waits. I love Tom Waits. If you follow me on Twitter, at FranticJ3, you'll see that I tweet about him a lot because he is just a poet, an amazing poet. You know, when I listen to music a lot of the times, I'm focused on the melodies because at heart, I'm a guitarist. I've played guitar for 10 plus years now. So I've always focused on that. And, you know, catchy melodies are what get me. So if the lyrics don't really have much substance, it's not normally that much of an issue for me. So when I find deep and resounding lyrics, usually I'm blown away by them. And then later on I revisit and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So sometimes in the heat of the moment, I don't know why I feel a certain way. But when I listen to Tom Waits, while he has very good melodies, it's really about the lyrics. It's about his style, the characters he gets into, and it's amazing. So Bone Machine, a lot of it is emotional, and it seems like it's built a lot around relationships, but I don't want to say it's all that. So the first song that I'm going to talk about is Who Are You This Time? This song paints the image of this person who is fed up with an ex-girlfriend and, you know, kind of looking back on this ex-girlfriend as a whore or a hooker or maybe a stripper, something along those lines. And he kind of sees them as just pathetic, you know. He quotes certain lines saying time isn't doing you very well, you know, saying, you know, you're aging poorly and you don't really know it. Are you still jumping out of windows in expensive clothes is another line that stands out to me. Because this person, he loathes them, but he sees them also as just a pathetic human being. And there's a lot of emotion in this song, so I think if you want to listen to that, keep that in mind, that it's just about someone who's very upset with a past girlfriend, and you can feel that. So if you're in that same boat, you're feeling bad about an ex-significant other, go right there, because the song paints it very well. Now, granted, this is talking about one where, you know, maybe they were ex from 10 years ago or something, but even then, he almost rewards himself for having steered himself clearer than the path that they've taken. So this next song, once you start listening to the lyrics in this song, it might bother you a lot, depending on if you've had a relative that was very close to you die, especially recently. So I would warn you there. But beyond that, the song is called Jesus Gonna Be Here. And Tom Waits isn't a man of God. He's not at all that. He almost consistently calls out the hypocritical views of Christians. That's typically where he goes. So with his song Jesus Gonna Be Here, he's this old man on his deathbed just singing like he's almost losing his mind. Just saying, you know, Jesus gonna be here soon. And the last part of this stands out to me the most. I think it's the most powerful bit where he says, you know, I've been faithful except for drinking because he knew I would. I don't know why that hits me so heavily. Not because I've had a relative die of drinking or anything like that. And I don't even think that's what he's saying. But because it just kind of says, you know, I've been faithful, but I did what I wanted, but he knew I'd do that. So it kind of goes against Christianity in a way. And not to say that I'm for or against it per se. I don't want to talk about that. But it hits me in that sense of, you know, maybe we are just kind of doing what we want, and the guy upstairs knows that. Maybe that's what it makes me think, you know, if this man who's got this deathbed that he's laying on and is just going to accept his fate, singing that he's waiting for Jesus to see the light, and he's been faithful, but, you know, I did my fair share of sins. It kind of makes you wonder how many people truly feel that way, the people who go to church regularly. And it makes you think about that. At least it makes me think about that. So and it's not a straight up interpretation per se. It's just, it makes me feel certain emotions that, you know, I never really thought about before. Like, you know, oh, I've been faithful, but, you know, who hasn't sinned, I guess is the question. So this song is called I Don't Want to Grow Up. And at first, you probably can picture what it's going to be about. And once you listen to the lyrics, you kind of see that. Throughout the song, Tom Waits' character is talking about seeing mom and dad fight. I don't want to grow up. When I watch the 5 o'clock news, I don't want to grow up. And he kind of repeats that. He says something about older life, says I don't want to grow up. Now, interestingly to me, that's kind of how I would take it, but there's another spin on this that I read that I think could be plausible. And I want to bring that out too, because while the message is straightforward, there could be another interpretation of someone longing to be young again. You know, I see my parents fighting, or I saw them fighting. I don't want to grow up. I don't want to be that. You know, I think that's something that this character clings to, whether they're young or old. They see the problems of being older and don't want to be, regardless of their age. So I think it's a unique way of taking it, that a character, this character in particular, doesn't matter their age. We just don't all want to grow up. And I think that's very safe to say, because when you're a child, you're worry-free. You don't have to worry about the bills. You don't have to worry about going to work every day. You don't have to worry about all the problems that plague the society. You're just kind of in your own world. And it kind of reflects on maybe, honestly, how I feel, and probably how a lot of you feel, especially with the recent political, I don't even want to get into that, but you know what I mean, the 2016 election. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you feel that way. And overall, I think the song just kind of embodies how the millennials, I guess, even though this was written in 1992, that, most of the generations probably didn't want to grow up to begin with, but it's something you can't avoid. And unfortunately, it's a reality we have to face. And that's a deep message. Not as deep as like, oh man, dude, but it's definitely something to think about. It's like, I don't want to do these things, but in reality, I kind of have to, regardless of how I feel. So that's what I take away from this song. And alright guys, let me know how I did. I know that these songs can be open to interpretation, and we'll never really know what they mean unless the writers truly tell us. So if I'm way off on some of that, let me know. I'm not going to be upset if I'm wrong, and if you disagree with my interpretations, it is what it is. Either way, I really like diving into the songs like that because it lets me express how I see the music versus telling you it's good. Either way, I'm really excited to keep doing this with all these songs, assuming you guys are awesome and down with it, So let me know what you've been listening to, especially songs, not necessarily albums. I know I normally say at this part, give me what you've been listening to and I'll give it a shout out or something, but I definitely think if you guys give me some songs to analyze, I could definitely come back with some cool stuff and we could get something going there. It'd be a lot of fun, because I really enjoy looking into music and finding deeper meanings than what's on the surface potentially. So either way, let me know. Did you like those songs? Did you like what I recommended last week? I know it was an album spree, but either way, let me know. And what are you guys listening to? Like I said, love to find out, love to dig deeper into it. Either way, I should be back on Sunday, not Monday, of next week, or this week, since it's technically this week. Logistics. And I'm looking forward to bringing you some cool new stuff, so I'll see you guys next time.